Tiffani Gyatso. I'm with the artist Yumma Mudra. She's an artist, a dancer, and a dharma teacher. And now she's connecting to us here in this project that we will be interviewing a few artists and to really get the feeling of the energy through our speaking here and conversation. And Yuma, I would really love to hear about your story from the beginning. And as I said before, like really have this feeling of your work, how inseparable it is from the life you were born and you grew up. Because the way you grew up, it grew your work. So how it came to that and eventually then emerged with the Dharma, and how your work then now it's directed also to the work of Dharma, and how it works with the spirit. And yesterday you told me something of transforming the suffering, that as a human being we all pass, and how it can be so positive in a sense, the suffering, if we have the instrument, and the practice of transmutation. So yeah, let us know.
Okay, thank you, Tiffani. Also, as I'm talking for this recording, I would also thank Michael.
Yes.
Because Michael Ash had this idea. And actually, maybe I'm going to start by saying that is, I have this feeling we don't know each other because you're in Brazil and I'm now in Europe. And I think Michael chose well this meeting, because the first moment I saw your paintings, I was actually, first I enjoy them. Obvious, I could look at the paintings and it's just a question of sensibility. But in my case, what you do touches me. I like it. Wow. And I was really interested, like driving towards it. And then I thought, well, I have to find some time to know a little bit more about this person, not only what she paints, And so I tried to look at a few things, and I was very attracted to meet you. So that's thanks to Michael.
Wow, wonderful.
Thanks to him, this possibility of conversation, which, as I told you, I am very interested in the fact that it can be a mutual conversation. So today it seems to be that I am at the center of the conversation.
Yes.
But maybe later you can be at the center. And this has to be with my work also, because in this work I've created, which is about dance, but it's really using the dance as the sky dancer, actually. It's very intimately related to the Dakini world, actually. Mm-hmm. And the basic of our community as an organization in Dança Duende, and I will talk about my life as you asked me, just to take things where I am now at this moment. We actually train on being the center, or having somebody else being in the center. And to really, as if you're dancing, when somebody is in the center and you're around that person, and somebody is around you and you're in the center, it's different, but both creates the mandala. Mm-hmm. And that is something that actually in society we're not too much used to that. We have a little bit the idea that some people are interesting and others not.
It's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's a training, because whoever is used to be at the center doesn't like too much to give attention to others, or to use your own image to make others be interested, and the opposite also, who is used to be hidden and not showing oneself, is not always comfortable in a genuine way. Yeah. Maybe with the internet we can pretend.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's a very interesting point. You're talking, I can visualize that mandala that we, I see so many people with problem of self-esteem also, and then sometimes internet, you can bring your face and create a persona, a wonderful thing. And all these small illusions, small mandalas we can play around, So it's a nice picture you're putting in. It's nice.
Yes, and at the time we started to create that, internet was not like now, because yeah, I'm 54, and when I was young, this didn't exist, you know?
Yes.
Not even the cell phones, you know?
Yeah.
Cell phones didn't exist. You had the answering machine, which was a very modern thing. No?
It's true.
And even, you know, the answering machine, you know, maybe you would hear it the day after.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's very different. Okay, so I will, of course, resume as much as I can the story. Actually, I wrote a book about this story,
I
but it's
was
in
going to
French.
ask. Yeah.
It's French. So in French, the name is La Voix qui danse, which means the dancing path.
I read about it. And it's
But
published only in France.
Yeah, it's going to be published in Italian, but not yet.
All right. All right.
And in French, voix can mean path, but if you change just a letter, it can mean voice. So you have this, it's like a playful game with words, and also dance. Dance can be dance, but it can also be the density. And in my idea, the key could be also qi, like qigong or tai chi, or so the voix qui danse was like playing with words.
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't have it in English so far, so I'm going to make a very little resume, and I'm going to cut through things that are not necessary too much. But it's true that it's maybe interesting because the way I have been working in dance myself as a dancer and in my intimacy, but also with people, as dancing with people or creating workshops. It's really related to a process which I was really not expecting. It would lead me slowly to actually something that I really needed, which was to bring everything together. It was not conscious that I really couldn't find a comfortable way to be in society and in the world if I wouldn't have everything I do genuinely exactly what I feel is my truth. I'm not able to do another way. So,
but it's a kind of trust, yeah, you had that. Besides the bumpy way all through life, there is a center, intuition that tells you, just go, just go. It will form something. You don't know what it is, but look at the body that today has your work, yeah. But you didn't know in the beginning. Right?
Oh, of course not. Yeah. And actually, I don't know if it was trust that much. I think in my case, it's more stubbornness.
Interesting.
It's a little bit, maybe there's a sense of trust behind, but maybe you would say I would be desperate another way. It was like, you know, the profile of somebody who doesn't have any choice, in the sense that I have to be into what genuinely touches me, otherwise I get crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
understand. Yeah.
Maybe now it's more trust than at that time, you know. At that time was more like being stubborn and even sometimes too much impulsive, but actually slowly, thanks to the Dharma very much, of course, which is this story saved my life, no? Somehow I could say. I mean, the present incarnation.
Yeah.
So I was born in France from a father who had a lot of children. He was a sculptor.
26 children, was it?
At least 26 with women from different countries. And so at that time we never really lived together because my mother was one more woman with one more child, you know. So she was very young, she was only 17. We went to the United States and she actually didn't even speak English. So we had the life there, and she was able to manage, not easily, but she was able, and we went to Detroit, Michigan. And my mother, I don't know for which reason, when I was a baby, she would take me everywhere to see concerts and theater, and she liked culture, actually. So she would take me to many things, and she took me to see classical dance. And at that time it was Romeo and Juliet.
Ah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was 3 years old And I said, I'm going to be a dancer.
Wonderful.
But this was, it's not like just I'm going to be a dancer. This was like,
Like a thunder.
There's no negotiation about that, and it was not needed because she was okay about that, But I was serious, so I actually really got into it. So in the beginning, maybe I was a child, so it was like more, nice dresses and nice food, because at the dance school there was nice food, things like that. But I actually started when I was 3. Then we came to France, and I started in another school, which was a Russian school. And that school belonged to 2 sisters who are Irina and Liège Griebina. And they were people who comes from the school of Diaghilev. So Diaghilev is this dance company, that's Russian dance company that made famous actually Nijinsky and also Stravinsky, and who joined a lot of artists in his time to create a kind of new ballet, a ballet that was more inspired from traditional dances and folklore, but with a background of real classical dance. So that school was also related to Nijinsky, and Nijinsky was actually literally crazy, but he has a little bit of this crazy wisdom in him. Yeah. He was crazy, but something very interesting about him. And so I could say that the lineage of the dance is directly related with this Nijinsky, and his not only interested in tradition, but also interested in through the nature, what happens to a person dancing, which is what happens the first time a child starts to dance, which is very soon. Actually, babies start immediately to get interested into sound, dance, breath, singing. So that was important because then I became professional early. I was 12 years old. And the company was a company of 40 artists. And they were adults. It was not for children. But I was very tall, and I looked like 20 years old at 12, 13. So I became professional from 12 to 14. And at 14, there was a problem in my family, mostly in my house. And so actually I left house. And I left everything. I left the dance, the house, the school, everything. So I lived in the streets for 3 years. And so these 3 years from 14 to 17, I didn't dance. I really lived in the street. I did sing and play music. I was also formed in music, and I could read music at that time and play classical guitar. Yes.
So then you basically lived in the street, but you could earn a little bit of your living, doing a little bit here and there with music and dance.
It was more in music at that time, and what they used to call it buskers was the name of people who play in the streets.
Oh, yeah.
So, actually, it was very difficult. It was very dark period of my life. I don't want to talk about it now because it's not. I could, but it's not. It's not directly what we're talking about. But I did learn a lot, and it's during that time that I found a book of Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche. Because at that time in Paris, you would have. Like bookstores that had lots of books, and you could buy all the books for £1, not euro.
Don't tell me, my God. France has this
Yeah,
things.
and lots of different books. And actually, I bought Chogyam Trungpa, but I had no idea what is this.
You didn't know him? It was just...
No, of course not. I was 15 years old.
Yeah. He was... which year was that?
Good question. It was 1976.
Not sure. He wasn't alive anymore.
No, he died in 80-something.
80-something.
87, I think. 87. But anyway...
Did you meet him eventually?
No, because as I was telling you, I was not Buddhist. My family wasn't Buddhist. I had no idea. And so when I found the book, I was very young. For me, the book was completely something that was talking about what I thought was important. because at that point I thought dance was the first thing, and then I was a little bit deceived by the world of dance, not the dance itself, but I was deceived by the companies and what happens in the companies. And I saw Béjart, Maurice Béjart. Um, I saw the people behind the stage, in the backstage, and I looked at these people and how they were a little bit tense and stressed, and I thought, this is not.
Yeah.
So this is not why I'm dancing.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was a little bit weird because it was a feeling that what I was looking for was maybe not that. Maybe I thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe it's not dance, you know? And I thought maybe it's love, but it didn't seem to be that either in the sense of what we call love usually. And then when I found the book, I had this like a little bit like a stroke. Like the book was, wow, oh, this book is, I don't understand, but this is it. And I didn't go to meet Chogyam Trungpa because at that time for me it was about Buddhism. It was not about him. Yeah, I had no idea he was so original. Because for me he was talking about Buddhism. For me he was the Buddhism. I didn't compare that to something else. So later, I'm going to jump on, later I became a model, and that work made me very famous, not on purpose, but because I did an advertisement that became very, very, very famous. And it's still, they call it teasing, so it's a concept of advertisement that was born from that particular advertisement I did. And I was 18. And then at that moment, everybody wanted me on TV, they wanted me to do movies, they wanted me to do records, they wanted me to do whatever it is they can do with somebody who will make them earn some money. You know how it is, you know. And strangely, as I was young and I saw a lot of difficult things already, at 19 years old, I didn't believe in it. I thought they're all saying I'm so great, I'm so beautiful, but actually this is all not true. This is not... this is just an illusion.
It's circumstances.
Yeah, I thought this is not something I can trust. I think I can trust dharma, but not this. So it was my passion. So I went into dharma like I'm crazy,
like stubborn, down,
full-time fanatic. Everybody should be Buddhist. You know? Like teaching everybody how they should do, not do. I quitted drugs. I quitted meat. Tobacco, everything. Man, everything was finished. And I became this very pure fanatic Buddhist girl when I was 20. And then when they all wanted me to do movies and things like that, I was actually going to do a movie, and as the main star of the movie, I went in retreat for a whole year. So this was the beginning of it. So I spent the whole year in the forest. It was really in a little cabin in the forest.
That was still in the States?
This was in France.
In France already? You were back in France?
Because the Russian company was in France. Maybe I forgot to say.
Okay, you went back.
We came back to France, to Paris. And then after that 1 year retreat, I stayed in the Buddhist community with a lot of training into, I would do, I did more than 1,000, 100,000 prostrations. So it was like 500 prostrations a day, things like that. And then every day 1 hour or 2 of Hatha Yoga, and then every day also martial arts. And so I was very physical, no? And at one point, a few years later, I think it was like 5 or 6 years later, the master of that community, who is a Belgian person, he asked me, "Can you dance?" And I was not expecting to dance, and so I was a little bit stupid, like, He didn't say, "Can you dance?" It's not true. He said, "What are you dancing at the feast tomorrow?" You know, so this was very important because I was like that, like, what am I going to dance? Because I just lived in a society where to dance is something that has to be a particular form. So it's not that you dance is that you dance something. And suddenly I could not dance something because it was already 6 years I was dancing nothing. So I just danced, and I asked him, can you give me music? Because at that time I didn't really have a notion of dancing without music. And he gave me a Sufi music. Very beautiful ney, Sufi music, simple. And so I danced, and then everybody was like, wow. And then I was so good. They said, you're so good at this. And then the master said, you have to dance every day. And so it became a part of my practice. And at that time, I was not expecting to leave the community. I was not expecting to earn any money at all, not needing to earn money, because inside of the community we had was like a kind of communism.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you work there, sometimes you work there, but then there's always everything you need, you have it. So, but I did dance, and the dance became part of my practice. But then later on, so I'm jumping very far away, I started to dance on stage. And when I danced on stage, it was different. Because suddenly everything I learned came back to me. And I learned to dance on stage with how dancers learn to be in front of a mirror. It's not the mirror like wisdom. It's the mirror that makes you worry about others. It's the opposite of the mirror like wisdom. And so that's one very important point, is that slowly, actually you understand that the 5 wisdoms are something that you really live very strongly as the opposite all the time. And so as a dancer, it's not so difficult to find out about the wisdom of earth, the wisdom of water, the wisdom of air, the wisdom of fire, and the wisdom of space and time. Because you always meet all of these either in the wisdom way, either in the confusion way, directly.
Yeah. You can't escape.
You can't escape because it's dancing, and dancing involves all of your being. You cannot be something else than yourself. And so I was on stage, and I was not liking what I was doing, but I was doing it. And then I would feel myself and train and feel myself and ask myself questions, because to dance was starting to become a sadhana. But at that time I really didn't know that, and I was not trying to look like some kind of exotic person. I was dancing things that people would like. Like, they would think this is, I don't know, this is Spanish dance, or this is gypsy, or this is whatever it could be. But it was always directly improvising. In the way I told you yesterday, I don't improvise just like that. I started to understand that I could improvise like you do in jazz. The jazz musicians, they have
logic.
Yeah, they have. They know there's this rhythm, and then there's this meeting, and then there's this gam. I don't know. You say in English, gam.
Like a structure, They improvise, but it's still inside a certain structure.
That's it. And so I started to create my own different structures in relationship with what I was working on in the dance, but this came slowly. It didn't come immediately. And so the first thing that happened was, actually in my case, it was auto-critic. So I would actually criticize myself, but I would not criticize myself in a way that I would feel too bad. It was more like finding the way to change how my body was reacting. So I really noticed the habitual tendencies. So it's very basic, and then you find the whole dharma in this process. So now I'm going to tell you about the process. And so the first process with the dance was habitual tendencies. I started to understand that the dance was showing me my habitual tendencies. And so the best way to work with that was not to cast them away, but to enrich all of them. It's very easy to understand, because it's always concrete with your body. you're really working with something that,
you can see is there.
yeah, day and night, and whatever we say and whatever we believe in, it's with this body all the time,
Yeah.
And so, like if you with your hands you do this is, let's say this is an habitual tendency, okay? So I'm saying this is my tendency to like to open, because maybe I created a persona of myself, which is the person that opens, no? But actually, if I want to enrich this, the only thing I have to do first is to do the opposite. So I'm going to be this person that does the opposite. So I actually going to have the go and come back of these. But then I can change. Sometimes I finger here, some here. Maybe I always do this and this. Maybe just do this, the opposite, no? So I have the go and come back of the. So first there was only this, and then you start to have much more, no? At one point, you also understand that you could cut it, no? So on one thing, there's so many ways of enriching this that you don't have to identify with it anymore. And also, you have to you start to have the opposite of yourself, which is making you more balanced.
Yeah.
Of course. But at that time, I was not understanding. It was just like,
happening.
I just noticed it was getting to something good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so one day I did a show. It was a man who invited me, and he said, "Oh, I want you to do a show." And I thought I would do a show, which would be a little bit ethnic. And then he said, "No, no, no, I want a show like you did last year and the year before. My show was about the four, I don't know how to say in English, immensurable, like the love, compassion, joy,
the four emoções comensuráveis. I know in Portuguese too.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know in English either. But anyway, the meditation on may all beings be happy and have gain the roots and the seeds of happiness. May all beings not suffer, and also create the seeds of not suffering, and all. Then the joy, may they experience the joy that is born from this love and from this compassion. And then the equanimity, may all beings and myself reach a state of non-judgmental state, which is stable and trustful, no? And also blissful in a certain way, no? Because all these four together is quite blissful. And so that show I did was completely something I made up like that, and he loved that. And actually people liked it very much. And this is where I started to get into danza duende. Because I got free from style, and my dance started to become really about the practice. But I was not really trying to look like Tibetan or Indian or something like that. I just thought stability and equanimity, all the movements, actually, in Tibetan, because I write and read in Tibetan, all the letters have horizontal, and then you have the vertical, and the horizontal is actually the symbol of equanimity.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So I did a lot of horizontal.
Wow.
And then I would do a lot of things that would be on balance, on one leg, on one leg, on one leg. And so the whole dance was like that. And I had to feel equanimity. And the same thing for love. It had to be about love. So I had to study how is it my body is talking about love. And then it was about compassion. How is it my body is talking about pain. And this is how we start to have the topic of pain coming, Because compassion, it is the braveness of feeling pain. Yeah, it is not just saying, "Oh, may they have what they need,"
No, or pity, yeah.
Yes, and so I had to feel it in my own, because all beings are in, our body is all beings, somehow. And so this was the first one, this dance, and this dance was called Simply Yours. And the man said, "I want something like that." No, something like that. He told me that on Wednesday, the show was on Friday. Okay, something like that. But actually, I did it. So I created a whole huge thing. I wrote the text and all that. And actually, I danced, I don't know if it's 7 or 8 dances, all with different looks. And people even thought I was a different person each time. Because this is what started to happen, is that I would choose how to move in relationship with this emotion or this topic or this teaching or this. So this is the beginning of Danza Duende, and this show was called The Story of Yana Rava. It was a mix of Mandarava and Yana. And that movie, that when I saw the movie, I thought, wow, now I don't recognize myself and I cannot criticize. And actually, I looked at myself and I tried to dance a few things I was doing. I was not able to do it again because the state of mind on stage was beyond my usual state of mind. So I started to think, now, this is what I want to do. And so later I had students, and then I'm going to make the story shorter, no? And the life, it's very interesting too, but it's too long. The life led me to be involved with women because I started to dance the women dances. And I became good at this women. I became famous as a belly dancer, actually.
Okay, I did a few years of belly dance, so it's wonderful. And when you say women's dance, would be what other kinds of dance?
This is what I would like maybe to say before I get to the Dakini, because this is where I want to go, no? Actually, very, very soon for me, Oriental dance interested me more because of the feminine than because of being Oriental. Not that I wouldn't like it, because I really, really love and I know very much about Oriental musics. But that I was never interested, and this is my whole life, into getting cut into... I didn't want to be closed in a cultural... like Trungpa Rinpoche calls it materialism, spiritual materialism. But I think actually this spiritual materialism is also a cultural materialism. So that we disguise in Arabic girls, and then we want to feel we are some kind of archetypa, which is...
it goes in the fantasy of something already built somewhere there.
It's very interesting, but usually the teachers don't use this as archetypa. They just use it as a way to make business. It's a non-ending business of clothes and makeup and jewelry. And so for me, this is what I was not interested in that. I was not interested in trying to look like somebody from a specific country, as I was, always living in different countries. For me, the world is okay. I don't need to be French or Arabic or Gypsy or Jewish. All of these things I am anyway. So, and I was much more interested into the woman part. And so slowly being involved with women and being famous as the belly dancer, I was just for 5 years. Then I stopped. I didn't stop dancing, but I stopped the belly dance. I really quit it, so actually the clients, everything I said, finished. I gave my clothes to my students, so I gave them my contract.
Wow!
Yes, because I didn't want anymore to do the Oriental dance, and I wanted to find the woman in myself that wouldn't look like an image of the woman, that would be really, really what I was here for. Understand? And that's where I started together with my students. So we worked on Danza Duende, was going through suffering, transforming suffering, and then from transforming suffering to really make the beauty of your presence and the magnificence of your presence be an offering, which is different, no? When you can go through suffering, your offering is a genuine offering, because you're not afraid. At that moment, at least. Maybe you're afraid a lot of time, but at that moment, you're not afraid. And this is what is interesting.
spite the fear you still give. Maybe the fear can be there, but nothing holds you back, and it's
not at that moment. You don't have any fear. That
there
moment.
is no fear
At that moment, not, because it's moment. It's like instant. There's an instant. I always thought that being on stage is like dying. I felt like that. Like each time I go on stage, it's like I'm going to be killed. Or it was like, samurai. One of these two are not coming back. So there is a little bit something like that. And there is a moment, if you really open yourself into the dance, and you really, really open yourself into this offering, at that precise moment, you're not at all with hope or fear. But maybe it's 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 1 minute, it depends, no? If you are sincere with yourself, and that's where comes the mirror of yourself, no? Then you see the difference between the moment that you're really, truly, genuinely free and really offering, and the moment that, well, you're just trying to do your best to convince people you deserve that they look at you.
The ego comes back. The persona that you build, it comes back, and
yes, of course, because it's duality. But that also is okay, because slowly, this is also all beings, no? Compassion to all beings. So slowly, even that starts to be a little bit possible, like in meditation. So you meditate when you sit, but you meditate when you dance. You meditate all the time. Yeah, because you start to really see yourself and hear yourself and smell. And so with my students, there was so it's 12 years today. I mean, this year.
Nowadays.
Not today. 12 years, it's 12 years we've been working together, because I really liked the fact of sharing with people the dance. I like the freedom of that, because I don't make any program, and if people, they say, what do you do at what time, I have no idea what we're going to do at what time. Maybe I put something on the paper, but then it's not what we do. And that's something nice, is that you can be a whole week with people, and then the whole week, it's not like on stage that you really have to, say this is from 8 to 9, and I dress like this, and I do this. So I really did a lot of work with the students, and then it became a community. And this community is called Danza Duende. And so we really work on what is the life of the dance and the dance of life, and not the form of dance. But the form of dance is technically completely respectful. So it's not the idea that you just move, which is very nice, but nobody needs me to do that.
So it's really the intention in the movement.
It's to be, and in the same time that your body can actually become an instrument that becomes good at it. Because exactly like you paint, your body becomes an instrument that is able to...
like a channel, you just serve something that flows.
It flows, but in the same time there can be also precision in that body, because the body itself can take different forms, and you start to know these forms. Like if you're talking, like we talk English, or we talk Brazilian, or we talk... The dance is the same. You can talk the different languages of your body. And that's never ending, no? It's never ending. It doesn't matter if you get old or you're not old. It never ends. And you can be very good at it. You don't have to be just,
pretty. Kind of. Don't have to be pretty all the time, because
and it's also not about expressing yourself. A lot of people think it's about expressing yourself, but actually expressing yourself is just sorting out what you need to sort out. It's so interesting when you finished expressed. When you expressed everything you have to express, this is where it starts to be interesting.
And then
Because
when there is, that's a good point, because when there is no expression, is there art? Is there dance? Is there something happening when the artist is not expressing? Because is it possible not to express? I mean, even if you are silent, you express in silence.
yeah, this is the whole path of sacred art anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Dance is the same. It's that at the first time I really think we really need to work on the emotions so that the expression and the impression can meet. It's like expiration and inspiration, no? So in the beginning you have to inspire and expire, no? So actually, you see, I did the opposite. I said you have to expire and inspire, because in the beginning it's like that, because we are dual. We do hope people like us, and we do have to admit who we are and accept who we are and be who we are. Otherwise, it's a crazy, fancy, spiritual thing, no? But then at one point, when this starts to go and come, at one point, it's not about expressing. You don't need to express anything. You be, to be, you know? And you can, at that moment, the archetypa, the divinity, as people say, or whatever archetypa is there, can really have your body as a way of manifesting. Your body is manifesting something. It's not possible as far as I am expressing myself. No? So it doesn't. I'm not saying it's not good to express. I'm just saying it's more interesting when at one point you tune in into something that is not anymore at that. This is a little bit peripheral to express. It's not the bones.
Exactly.
And so that's it. And so we created really a community, and that community is based on the fact that each person is sharing the same teachings, but can manifest it in different ways, and even not by being only dancer. So we have theater, we have work with puppets. We created the school with tango. So actually, for example, I don't know how to do tango. Actually, I don't even like tango because I don't like to be like this all the time. But we do have tango duende, because one of my students was studying tango and the same time she studied with me, and so we melt the two.
Wow!
Yeah.
That
we
is
melt
the integration, and then you
integration of the work on the invisible yourself. So the invisible is mostly the wisdom and compassion, which is mostly the no wisdom and no compassion. Of course. Yes, to work on wisdom and compassion is that you will notice how much you have the other side. No? And then in dance it's easy, because you really do have relationship, and you really do have moments that you can be alone. It's very easy to make it happen in a dance room. And then that person creates a project that is based on this inner work and the tools of the inner work. The knowledge that dance is what makes your meditation go in the movement. So meditation and movement is not opposite. It becomes really, really the same thing in two different ways, no? And the dance is what links everything. Because, even to sit could be dancing. Yeah. So this is what we did. And then to end my story, I started to work with the Dakini. And in Danza Duende we do invocation like you do with a brush, actually. So we do invocation of your intention, things like that. And then I really invoked very much the Dakini. And that was a very strong thing in my life. I didn't really expect it would be so strong. It actually made my life change completely. And then it ended up that I created with Michel Raji, who works with the breath, this work that we call Samaya, the ritual of the rose. And this was based on really an invocation of Padmasambhava and Isha Tsogyal. And slowly this started to be the moment that I really started to feel that what I told you, it's not only your emotion and your dance, and it's really getting into a moment that you give yourself to something that manifests the truth of that moment. And when it's possible, you get the teaching from something, and people get the teaching from something, but you're just the tool of that thing.
Yeah, you're the tool. Yeah.
Yes. So it's like translucid. Trance, but you don't lose your lucidity. And so that's really to tell you a little bit like the whole thing coming together, a little bit where I am now. And now, precisely now, we're going to do the festival in Portugal with the community. It's a festival every 3 years in July. And also, I personally, alone, working on my Tree of Life. So it's a dance I'm doing on stage with the text I wrote. So that's what's happening now.
Wow, wonderful. So you're basically always in a tour. Like you do a lot of tours, but you also, I think I understood that you also give workshops or like...
Yes, it's always a little bit mixed, you know. And then I didn't talk about the dharma and all of this, but the dharma was always present in the whole process. It's just that I didn't want to make people become Buddhists.
Yeah. Give a name, give labels.
Yes, and also I wanted the people to feel that they could be Muslim, they could be Catholic, they could be, and that's no problem. It's actually no problem. If we go that far together,
yeah, exactly.
And then at one point I talked with Ringu Tulku Rinpoche, my master, who is the guru of the Bodhicharya Sangha. And he offered me to create a Dharma teaching based on art. And so it's called Intuitive Dharma Study. So it's the study of Dharma by art. But I always kind of separate this Intuitive Dharma study from Dansa Duende, because in Dansa Duende, I'm trying to make it not obviously Buddhist, but more like really based on the perceptions of here and now and what's happening here and now. So it's more like Dharma art. It's very fully open to people that could be of different philosophic or religion, or so it's based on the truth now, you know. And Intuitive Dharma study would be more really like respecting the process of Dharma teaching, but with like trying to create a theater about five wisdom, or creating a theater about generosity, about paramita. Like maybe you and me, we create a little theater now, and everybody talks about what is generosity, what is difficult, not difficult about generosity, based on the theater we just did now. It's like that for poetry. Somebody writes a poetry, and then we sing immediately the poetry with immediately.
Oh, how wonderful! Wow, I would love to participate one of your workshops. Wow, and do you have a place where you do that? Is it very often, or is when you stop touring? How often is you teach? How do you
actually
teach?
In this moment it's irregular. At moment, last year was all the time, every week. But now this time we're going to be doing sessions sometimes when everybody wants to do a session.
Yeah, right.
And now I'm going to take a little bit of time, like kind of retreat for me. So I'm going to do it more on maybe at one point if a Dharma center asks me, I will go. Yeah. But I'm not going to organize myself for some time. And so, just to end, the Intuitive Dharma study has a basis, which is what I really like, is to tell stories. And It's obvious I like to tell stories.
Wonderful stories.
So, like we tell the story of Milarepa, the story of Marpa, the story of Naropa, the story of Mandarava, the story of Yeshitsugal, the story of Machikladrun, the story of Laleshvari. And then with that story, we can talk about dharma, or we can dance, or we can paint. So it's like really getting full of the story of Namtar, the story of the life of this person, being inspired by them, but using that as a basic to study, actually, dharma, but in a playful way.
Yeah. Wow, that is so great. It's beautiful work, beautiful. And I think just to end, I think we are just in time to end. Unfortunately, just to define, how would you define Dakini?
That is something I shouldn't do.
Because there is so many ways to define, and okay, is it only feminine? So in the sense of, can a man incorporate the Dakini energy, or is exclusively women, or is just the pure feminine energy, or is not?
Well, to start with, it has nothing to do with man and woman. And then it is, the word Dakini is actually trying to give us a touch of something that we cannot define. Yeah. So that's very interesting that we don't try, because it's impossible. And I think actually this is why the Tibetans usually don't want to talk about it. They don't like to talk about it. But on another hand, I could say it's a paradox. Huh? Yeah. If you do invoke the Dakini with a group of women, I say women because there was no man when I did that. It's not because I didn't want men, but in my case, I have attracted more women than men in the work I do so far. It's so easy to manifest something powerful that could be a mundane Dakini or wisdom Dakini in the first place. So the first thing that comes could be mundane or wisdom. You're not sure. So this is where it's difficult. But what I could say is that man and woman are human beings. We are the same somehow. It's just that in the case of women, we probably have a tendency to be more likely to tune in something mysterious and to let that enter into us, which is good and bad. It depends what we do about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And but men are not less likely to be sensitive to the Dakini breath than women. I don't think so. Now, what I can also say is that on the whole world, and all kind of cultures, all kind of religions, all kind of symbolism, this kind of energy is usually woman painted, not because I think of woman, but because it's representing the fertility of life. That life itself, before it is dual, is fertile. It does give, the energy gives a playful
start, a beginning,
manifestation to things, to phenomena and persons, animals. And so the Dakini is before you split man and woman. It's before sex. There's no sex at that moment. But the symbolism of that, because we need, as human beings, we like to grasp on some symbolism. It's usually the musa, or it's usually, in the Greece, it's the muse.
The goddess, kind of.
Goddesses, or this kind of symbol.
Because I think, especially today, that we are being aware, not today, but in the human history, of the woman, because to be born as a woman, we also incorporate a karma, a karma that is made from generations, and we carry that, you know. So to be born as a woman is also to bring consciousness to the feminine energy. So today it's so important, and we see what's happening in the world, you know, to women to recognize the pure feminine energy, to really have notion that is so strong and so loving at the same time, so gentle, but also it can start life and it can end life. And in a world that is so full of war, because the masculine energy in the general sense, you know, it's bringing down so much, you know, because it has this power and it can be destructive. So thinking in the feminine and masculine energy in the world, you know, if the feminine energy, if the woman can have consciousness of its own feminine energy to heal that, you know, it will be so healing for the woman today and for the world. You know, I at least my own personal vision of that. And then to bring this conscious of the Dakini, and to bring activities and arts that evolve this essence of the Dakini. And I can see that the world needs, you know, to heal a little bit the human heart.
A little bit, a lot.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
The wisdom is important.
Yeah.
Wisdom is, in Greece, it's Sophia.
Mm-hmm.
It's also, Sophia is also a woman's name.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dakini is, I think this is very important, because actually the elements are irritated, you know, the earth, and the earth is irritated, the waters are irritated, the winds are getting quick, everything is a little bit like getting intensified.
Yeah. Yeah.
From the point of view of the nature, it's no problem, because, you know, the earth can just do like that.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
it's okay, you know, human being can just disappear and no problem. But for us, if we really feel our life is meaningful, as women, in this case, as I'm a woman and I work a lot with women, I'm really agreeing with you that we are very powerful. And I think this wisdom is possible to manifest first if we really can honor the masculine inside of ourselves, so that the feminine can blossom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we don't take the masculine as something outside of us that is needed, but take more the masculine as the beautiful manifestation of exactly the same as we are, but the opposite. Yeah. That they look like masculine, but inside they have this very tender and vulnerable feminine inside, and lovely. This is just a way of talking, you know. Yeah. But this wisdom, I think, for us women can be very, 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 very powerful. And that's what I worked on so far. Also because maybe we don't have to make it too much advertisement. A lot of women are making a lot of advertisement about these things, and I work a lot with sexuality, with the womb and all these things, but I don't think it's useful to talk about it that much. Yeah. I think it's very important to actually have this feminine attitude of really giving. It's like on stage. You're not going to give on stage the things that are not needed for the public. You give on stage what they need. Yeah. You know, and it's the same when you cook. If you cook something and you burnt it, you're not going to give it to people. Yeah. You want them to get out of your house happy and not sick. You know? Yeah. And so I think also that the art is, and not only the art of being human and being woman, can be extremely powerful, because women have children, and they have a lot of influence on men. And of course, all these wars are because of not the man, but because of the masculine energy that is afraid of the feminine energy. Yeah. So the feminine energy can really help inside of me, inside of you, and inside of everybody. That this fear can maybe, and this sense of lacking and fear could pacify. So, yeah, bring some pacification, no? Yeah. And pacification can be playful, and it can be, like somebody like you painting, or somebody like me that is a little bit, how you say, exuberant, or somebody who's shy. Yeah. Whatever it is, whoever is being his best or her best, can really give a lot of pacification and wisdom. If we really understand how important it is.
And somehow learn the tools. That's why I think art is so essential, because it's a tool that anyone with no discrimination can learn. And it can be dance, art, cooking, planting. That's art. And you can heal that way. And it's more simple than we think it is. Yeah? Just to plant your flowers, and that can change so much. Wow, wonderful, Yumma. And I wish we can see that we could go on and on and on, and so much things to say, so rich your life, your work, and this sharing. And I'm sure we're gonna do more anytime I can get you in the middle of a tour. Tell me more. Because it's so inspirational. And so I thank you, and I thank anyone who will be watching this. And yeah, so thank you, Yumma.
Thank you. Bye-bye.